Welcome to Phenomenology Zone. These are our group members. Let's begin with its features. This is the summary. The first thing to look at is the definition of phenomenology. It describes the meaning for several individuals of their lived experiences of a concept or a phenomenon. It involves trying to understand the essence of a phenomenon and study the commonality in the behaviors of a group of people. The most significant features of phenomenology are description, reduction, essence, and intentionality. Its first feature, description, refers to describing something to the thing itself, and the objective is to investigate as it happens. The second feature, reduction, means that researchers must set aside their own assumptions and prejudices about the phenomenon to ensure that biases do not pollute the description of the observations. Another key feature is essence, which refers to the core meaning of individual experiences in a certain phenomenon. The last feature, intentionality, refers to the correlation between noema and noesis that directly interpret the experience. Noema means the object apprehended, and noesis means that the act of apprehending. A specific noema may give rise to multiple acts of noesis. There are two types of phenomenology, and they are hermeneutical phenomenology and psychological phenomenology. The former one focuses more on interpretation, while the latter one more on description. Interviews, observations, and other data sources like journals, arts, poetry are commonly used methods to collect data. Horizontalization, clustering meaning, textual description, structural description are often used to analyze the data. This research used quantitative inquiry and research design, choosing among 5 approaches as a main reference book. Now let's come to part 2. We will focus on 3 journal articles on phenomenological study. These 3 articles are chosen based on the impact factor in our research interest. The first article is Student Teachers Help Student Teachers, a phenomenological study on the student-teacher child's lived experience. It aims to better depict the multifacets and complexity of the student-teaching child's lived experiences in the specific setting under the specific peer coaching circumstance. The research involved 23 stakeholders from the students teaching child in the field, and semi-structured in-depth interviews were done. The data was collected through audio tape interview, observation, student artifacts, and field notes. The interview protocol was based on the guiding question, how do you perceive peer coaching in student teaching? Then the data was analyzed by using open coding, selective coding, ASIL coding, and thematic analogy. The trustworthiness of the research has been achieved by participants' rich experience in teaching. The most evident finding to emerge from this study is that the student teaching child consider peer coaching to be overwhelmingly beneficial, and is concerned that peer coaching might turn into a chore. 4 benefits of student teachers helping student teachers and 3 factors that trigger problems have also been identified in this research. The second article, the lived experiences of international students whose family remains at home, aims to exploring adult international students' experiences of leaving spouse and children for further education overseas. 10 participants, 9 females and 1 male, all are international students, have been involved in this research. Semi-structured in-depth interviews and conversational in nature were conducted. Its interview protocol contains questions as follows. Describe your experiences of leaving your children and spouse at home. Give me an example about what you have just described. Tell me more about that, and what were you feeling and thinking at that time? Collage's approach has been adopted to analyze the data. It consists of transcribing, reviewing the transcripts, individual analysis for categories, and reviewing for final things. Lincoln and Guba's framework is adopted to enhance its trustworthiness. To be specific, credibility has been achieved by ensuring accuracy in describing the participants' experiences, returning the analysis of transcripts to participants for validation. Dependability is achieved by researchers undertaking an audit of each other's process of analysis. Transferability is achieved by providing an overview of the findings to other international students in similar circumstances to the participants. Findings of the study revealed 4 major things. 1. Living with emotional turmoil. 2. Living in a world of negativity. 3. Living with an expectation to cope. And 4. Driven by personal ambition. The third article, Student Perceptions of Online Learning During the COVID-19 Pandemic in Indonesia, a study of phenomenology, intends to investigate students' perception in Indonesia towards the implementation of online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. 22 students in Indonesia who experienced the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic are informants. Semi-structured interviews were conducted to collect the data. Procedures of eidetic reduction, transcendental reduction, and phenomenological reduction were used to analyze the data. To ensure its validity and reliability, this study uses data triangulation by comparing and checking back the degree of confidence of information through different informants. Findings of study reviewed 5 major things. Students perceive online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic as 1. Ineffective learning activities, 2. Unpleasant learning activities, 3. Limit self-actualization in education, 4. Helping to become an independent person in learning, and 5. Fun learning activities. Thank you. Questions about phenomenological study will be warmly welcome.